Well, since I've sort of run out of new stuff to review, I guess this is gonna be our first retro review. As in, I'll visit earphones from like the old-ish age of hi-fi, like say a few years back. Back then, Moondrop and Blonde weren't really the hot hi-fi brands, but rather stuff like KZ or Tin Audio, Tin Hi-Fi nowadays. When back then the tuning was a lot more wild and everywhere. Not that now it isn't, but it's a little better. And this old messy age gave birth to some interesting products, and among them is the Shozy Hibiki Special Edition, or Hibiki SE. It was pitched as an updated version of the Shozy Hibiki with cables from AAW, and it's got a beautiful wood insert faceplate. Now, let's see if this thing is still any good in 2021. Let's get started. So you got a pretty big box coming with the Hibiki SE. Got lots of marketing blurbs, but actually at the time, this was a pretty premium feeling box actually. So sliding open the outer sleeve, you get a black inner box, and it opens by a magnetic flap. On the top you see this little promotional material / instruction leaflet for a Shozy Hibiki SE. Short and sweet. I like it. Actually, this box has a bit of a fragrant smell, which has still remained after like 4 years. So very nice. Covering that, you get the Hibiki SE, which was installed with medium tips. You also get these large and smaller size tips here. I know it looks a bit busted up, but I've just basically repackaged this thing after 4 years just to show you. But yeah, I'll leave a picture of how it looked like when it was new over here. Also get a small felt leather pouch. It felt nice back then and it still feels nice now. The only thing is it can attract a lot of dust. Okay, so for the whole box, you can see the Hibiki up top and the cable down below. Here, I'm gonna show you a picture of how the cable wrap originally looked like, because once you've have taken it off, you can't really ever wrap it back the right way. So beware of that. Yeah, that's it. You got the Hibiki SE, some ear tips, and a pouch. I complained back then that this was kind of barren in terms of accessories, and I still do now, because when you brand this thing a special edition, I expect, more stuff in the box compared to just having a bigger box than the normal Shozy Hibiki. I'm not seeing the special in this special edition here. We've got the cable here, and it seems to be the same AAW Ethos black cable that ships with the normal Hibiki. Again, for a special version, I kinda expected an upgrade cable, but nope, same old thing. Well, it's a relatively thin and light cable with a black color. It includes a volume clump here, so it's got a mic to answer this call, and you can also control volume with this, so that's pretty cool. Through my testing, the controls work fine, although the buttons are somewhat hard to feel because yeah, it's not that easy to feel out at night. The jack, well, it's made of solid plastic with a bit of a metalish bit here. Looks good. It's fairly standard, nothing special though. But the thing is, this cable wasn't great back then, and its age has shown further weaknesses. So first, look at this memory wire. It's bad, because as it ages, and I think it reacted with like your sweat, so it has stiffened up. And look at this, the outer plastic has shown many cracks nowadays, see? And secondly, the Y splitter. It has this little sort of opening So you can split the cable out if you don't really need to use the joiner. But the thing is, it sounds good in theory, but in reality, the rubber has sort of worn out here, so it just doesn't really, it just really easily releases the cable and it just doesn't hold it anymore. So it's basically useless. And the third most egregious thing about this cable is that it harms the Hibiki SE's sound. It looks okay aesthetically, but it crushes the dynamics of the Hibiki SE, and it's got some impedance problems so that the volume just sounds weird. Any other custom cable when you use it with the Hibiki SE will get louder than this stock cable they give you. So overall, it's a nice cable on the surface, but it's actually plagued with problems. So if you do buy a Hibiki SE nowadays, use any other cable with it. It'll probably be better than this one. Because of that, I'll be using the Saturn audio cable I have for testing purposes. Hopefully this will eliminate the bottleneck with the Hibiki SE if there is any. Here are the silicone tips for the Hibiki SE. It's of a sort of matte-ish material, soft touch material, so it does feel right in your ear. The stem itself though is a little shorter than usual, but works okay for the Hibiki SE. And yeah, it's just fairly standard stuff, that's all. And here is the Shozy Hibiki SE. Yeah, this thing, it has seen better days, let's just say. I'll try and put a crop of when it was new. And yeah, at the time, for the price you paid, it was hard to find any IEM as nice looking as the Hibiki SE. The sort of wood insert faceplate with its purple and pink gradient. Oh, it's stunning. They later had a blue variant as well, but I'd love to have owned that, but I don't. But yeah, 4 years of use has ruined its looks. First, the glossy front plate. This thing will soon be scratched, or it's gonna be dulled away. I tried to apply some nail polish on it, but you can see it creates like these uneven surfaces. Kinda botched that. There's this plastic rim. It originally had a metal coating. You can see some bits left, but yeah, over the years, this thing sort of flakes off and it goes from premium feeling to this ugly white plastic. However, one thing that hasn't changed is the lovely ergonomics on this thing. You see these soft contours? Even if the Hibiki SE is a very bulbous looking IEM, because of these contours, it's one of the most comfortable IEMs I've worn, and it still is one of the most comfortable IEMs I've worn till date. And so much so that I wish someone would have copied at least the shape of this body of the Hibiki SE. The thing was comfortable, and back in its heyday, it really looked beautiful. Yeah, in terms of source matching, you're gonna want a bright source for the Hibiki SE because it's already got this really loose and relaxed, warm sound, overly warm even, to the point of being bloated. So the LG V20 at least tries to give the Hibiki SE some top end and makes the sound a little bit more lean. And due to this loose sound, actually, you can actually just chuck any tips on here and it won't do much to alter the signature. So pretty much just use whatever is comfortable for you. I will be using SpinFit CP 145s, but use whatever that you feel is the most comfortable for you. And with that, let's get into the sound of the Shozy Hibiki SE. Right, so the bass is actually somewhere that the Hibiki SE actually works. The stock cable made the bass a little bad, but once you actually change to a custom cable that doesn't hurt the sound, the bass can get very powerful, but also giving a bit of a sweet feeling. So you're gonna get a soft bass presentation, but it can supply a decent amount of rumble. And this amount just makes for it's a very pleasant and lively low end for lighter genres. although it does struggle in terms of speed for heavy music, because the dynamic driver here can be a little sluggish. Bass detail itself though is kinda meh. It's one note, but at least the soft texture and the powerful slam saves it a little bit. Now, the thing with the mids of the original Hibiki was that it was polarizing. Some people loved it, others hated it. I fell into the former camp because although it was straight up it just had a plasticky timbre at times, it did make some songs sound really ethereal. And at that time, when all you heard was just the recessed mids of KZIMs in the market, this was at least something different. The Hibiki SE took in the criticism from the original Hibiki and tried to make the mids sound more organic. However, what they did was basically just thicken up the low mids to the point of making it become bloated and hollow, and it also killed any real dynamic range. It became this caricature of a warm sound that instead of being soulful and emotional, it just became this vapid, empty, and hollow mess. It kind of killed what the original Hibiki had and just turned it into a below average mid-range that was no better than any average hi-fi brand at the time. The high mids, where a lot of the vocals sit, however, they just didn't get much love. Again, it's a messy and incoherent presentation that it just makes vocals sound recessed but also glaring at times. It basically embodied the sci-fi industry before Moondrop chimed in, where these manufacturers just did whatever, and it just sounds weird. The highs, again, it's a mess. Because Shozy wanted this warm sound, they sort of muted the highs a lot, sprinkling in these random messy peaks just to try and keep some semblance of sparkle in air. But it just ends up with like these weird resonances in the sound. Sometimes a song would sound muffled, but then other times it would sound glaring and exhibit ringing. Just, it's not good. If you don't use a bright source, I'm pretty sure you can just say that this thing is muffled. Yeah, the Hibiki SE, with its warm sound and lack of air, like I said, gives you a pretty narrow soundstage with really no height. It's below average. And with the technicalities, well, modern IEMs a third of the price can probably beat it. Heck, my KZ-ZS10 at the time already smoked the Hibiki SE in terms of detail, separation, and resolution. But Hibiki SE, it just makes sounds and instruments really soft, and imaging is not well defined at all. Instruments feel like they're placed randomly in the stage, and again, in heavy songs, you'll find this slight graininess, and the Hibiki SE just struggles to bring detail forward. Again, because it tries to place to the warm sound, technicalities is just not the Hibiki SE strong point. Because everything to the Hibiki SE sound is so loose, you just really have nothing to focus on, and everything is just kind of not great. Now, if you've seen my written review of the Shozy Rouge, you'll know what I'll say here. Shozy really has gone a long way since their earlier days, where the Hibiki SE's tuning is incoherent, trying to tune for a niche of the warm sound, but then just going terribly wrong. The Rouge actually knows what it's doing. It goes for the treble head tuning niche, and it mostly nails it. The Hibiki SE's bass may be better than the Rouge's, frankly, anemic presentation, if only due to its quantity. But the mids and the highs of the Rouge are way better handled, without too many weird resonance peaks. I buy the Hibiki SE for the looks, but I buy the Rouge for the clearly better sound. Well, if we compare the Hibiki SE with the Starfield, we can basically eliminate the good looks variable, because I think the Starfield's looks are on par, if not even better, than a Hibiki SE. So we're left with comparing the sound, and boy, the Hibiki SE is in for a whooping. I mean, I'm not gonna like worship Harman tuning, but it's way more consistent than whatever the Hibiki SE is doing. The vocals and the highs of the Starfield easily creams the Hibiki SE. Even if the bass of the Starfield ain't the strongest, man, it's quality. It's way better than the Hibiki SE. Yeah, the Hibiki SE just isn't. It's no competition for the Starfield. Nuh-uh. Not even the Aria, I don't think. But yeah, Starfield, no way. So, back in like 2016 or 2017, when your most prevalent brands in the Chi-Fi world were KZ and Tin Audio, and when tuning direction was still kind of everywhere in that market, it was sort of acceptable and excusable for the Hibiki SE to be what it is. It was a pioneer in giving good looks at a still acceptable price, and heck, as much as I roast the Hibiki SE for this overly mellow sound, it can be a guilty pleasure for listening to lo-fi music. And even if it's bad, it's at least memorable compared to the dime a dozen flavor of the month V-shaped sets that kept coming out back then. And yeah, but you know, we are in 2021 now. And in 2021, I can't recommend the Hibiki SE, but we now have excellent products from the likes of Moondrop, and even newer offerings from Shozy themselves with the Shozy Rouge or the Form 1.1. Like, the Hibiki SE just doesn't stand a chance. Who knows though? Maybe you're that one person who does like the Hibiki SE sound and love its look, and you happen to have some spare income. You won't be sad if you waste. Why not? It's at least a good nostalgia buy, alright? Well, that's a wrap on the Shozy Hibiki SE's review. Now that you've seen me start to review my old stuff, the plan is to continue to review my older gear until I guess I run out of stuff to cover. But yeah, I guess it's time to say that I'm kind of out of budget to get the newer stuff in for review. So it's time I plug my Patreon. Yay! So yeah, I'll put links to my website where you can find some donation methods, as well as my Patreon link down below. Right now it's mostly just for donation purposes, but I will get to adding some content to the reward tiers in due time. I will appreciate, you know, any support I can get. If you want, you know, these reviews to come out quicker, or if you want me to actually have the money to buy the stuff to bring in for review, then yes, that is where you can support me. If nothing else, if you like the video, if you want to see more like this, you can subscribe. If you have any suggestions, put it in the comments. And if nothing else, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.